Hello everybody, I'm Miss Jessica from EVPL McCullough, and today we're continuing our Chapter Book Storytime Variety Pack, and we are reading just a little bit of a story to possibly get you curious and wanting to read more, because there's so many titles out there. We love introducing you to everything that we have to offer. The last time that we were together, we spun our wheel and we landed on humor, which is always amazing because who doesn't love to laugh? So for today's title, we are going to be reading The Magic Misfits, and this is by Neil Patrick Harris, and he is an actor, so you may recognize his name from various TV shows and even some movies. So with this book, it was written in 2017, and it is recommended for ages 9 to 12. However, I never adhere to those recommendations because I'm definitely not 12 years old. I'm much older than that, and I enjoy reading these books. But just to kind of give you an idea of the age range. Now, this book, we do have it as a print copy. We also have it as an ebook and e-audiobook, and we even have it as an audiobook with CDs. So if you enjoy this, you can always get it in a variety of ways. Now, the other thing about this book is that it is part of a series, and I always love when I can find a good series to read because I'm one of those people that I love different characters and the story, and I want it to keep going forever. So a series is a perfect way to do that, to keep that story going. Okay, so let's read the inside cover and see what it has to say. And one thing I do want to say about Neil Patrick Harris is that he is very into magic. So into magic tricks and different things. I believe he's actually a part of, I want to say it's the Magic House is the name of it in Los Angeles. And that's a very, very famous place that magicians go to learn new things and to be trained. When the street magician Carter runs away, he never expects to find friends and magic in a sleepy New England town. But like any good trick, things change instantly as greedy B.B. Bosso and his crew of crooked carnies arrive to steal anything and everything they can get their sticky fingers on. After a fateful encounter with the local purveyor of illusion, Dante Vernon, Carter teams up with 5 other like-minded illusionists. Together, using both teamwork and magic, they'll set out to save the town of Mineral Wells from Bosso's villainous clutches. These 6 magic misfits will soon discover adventure, friendship, and their own self-worth. Sounds pretty interesting. And I always love it when books are a little creative with their pages, so I really like the colorfulness of the inside of this. And as we're kind of going through, they do have a map of the town of Mineral Wells, so that's always good because it helps us kind of understand where we're going through that town. All right, so here we are at our beginning. Salutations. That's just a clever word for greetings. Do you believe in magic? Hi there. Yes, I'm talking to you. Well, do you? Do you believe in magic? If you're anything like the boy in this book, you might say no. But I assure you, there is magic all around you. It's true. Don't believe me? Look into my eyes and tell me you don't see magic. All right, so then he has a lot of eyes on the page, and in the middle of all of those eyes, he has letters. So like there's M, A, G, lots of eyes, and then C. See what I did there? Eyes, eyes. You can't stop laughing. I wasn't that funny, was I? But let's be serious for a moment. Magic can mean different things to different people. For some, it is pulling a rabbit out of a top hat, or sawing a person in half and then hopefully putting them back together again. For others, magic is a crisp autumn day or a tender hug from a loved one. For me, magic can be a story, a game, a puzzle, or a surprise that takes my breath away in a single furious gulp. You see, magic comes in all shapes and sizes and colors and tastes and smells and feelings. Magic may even come in the shape of a book. Perhaps the very one you're holding now. Or not. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But sometimes you might have a hard time remembering to seek out magic in the world. Just like the boy in this book, you might be too busy twirling cotton candy, or too distracted by birds sitting on the windowsill, or too tired from organizing the attic to notice. But I assure you, magic does exist. You just have to know where to look. Use your nose or your tongue or your eyes or your brain. Of course, sometimes you can make it happen yourself. Would you like to learn about magic? I thought you might. Very well. Repeat after me. Sir Salabam. I'm sorry. I don't think you actually said that out loud. Please repeat after me. Simsalabam. Louder. Simsalabam. Brilliant. You're proving to be a great student. Now, turn the page. Wait. Hold on. Stop. Silly me. I think I must have mesmerized myself with all those eyes earlier. I almost forgot. One last vital thing before we get into the meat and potatoes of our magical story. Drum roll, please. First, I must explain. And I like how it's hard to see on the camera, but we have kind of this cream colored, and then it turns to kind of a gray color in the book. How to read this book. I cannot tell you when or where to read this book. After all, you might read it on the bus or in a plane or in the back of a hay cart. You might read it while brushing your teeth or brushing your hair or brushing the fur of your Angora rabbit. You have one of those, right? You might read it in a bed, under a bed, or possibly while levitating several feet above the bed. If you're so inclined, you might read it in a bathroom mirror, backward or upside down or downside up. No, I can't tell you where, when, or where, and I certainly can't tell you how you may read it with your eyes open, or you may read it with your eyes closed. There is a way to do that, you know. You might read it backward or in a mirror, or you might have someone read it out loud to you. You might even find it helpful to read the last letters of certain words in a phrase. There is at least one part where you'll want to find all the capital letters and a section to see what they say. Nice to have options, isn't it? Most important, you should understand that within this book are lessons on magic, sometimes spelled magic with a K. Reading the chapters will give you a tale of adventure and woe and excitement and fun, not necessarily in that order. Reading the magic moments, or those sections hidden here and there, will aid you in uncovering the secrets of stage performance. If you read both types of chapters in order, you may find yourself saying, wow, as you discover an adventure and learn magic. For the most fun, might I suggest reading the book both ways? Now, magicians' secrets must be shared if they are to be passed on to future generations, so future generations can accomplish even more amazing feats and dares. This is why I'm sharing them with you. But I have a request. Keep the secrets secret. No sharing with your friends or friends of friends. No using them to cheat your neighbors. No shouting them from the rooftops of your town. Trust me when I say that turning a frown into a smile might be the most rewarding magic trick of them all. Much more rewarding than the opposite. But listen to me blathering on. Let's dive in. Are you ready? Brilliant. Turn the page. Okay, so something interesting in this little introduction was that he mentioned that you might want to pay attention to capital letters. This section does not have any capital letters at the beginning of sentences, or even with the letter I, which is always capitalized when it's by itself. So I'm going to kind of show you that you can see that some of the letters are capitalized, like right there at the end of might. So as I'm reading through this, I started noticing that there were a lot of letters that were capitalized throughout the text. And then you get to the end of this section and there are spaces to put those letters. So I am not going to tell you what it says because that is for you to discover. That's part of the fun of this book. But I love a good mystery. So it's really fun that he's putting these little things in here throughout for you to do and for you to try. And so also kind of a fun way to make something like this for your friends. Some kind of secret message. So chapter 1. In the darkness of a train yard somewhere on the far edge of town, a shadowy figure emerged from a thick curtain of fog. The person looked back once before, dashing alongside several rows of empty train tracks. Now, if you're anything like me, you might flinch when imagining a shadowy figure emerging from a nighttime fog in a nearby abandoned train yard lit only by distant streetlights. But you needn't worry here. It was merely a skinny boy named Carter Locke. If you were to worry about anyone at this moment, it should be the man who was not far behind. The man who was chasing Carter through the train yard, bellowing, "Carter, get back here! Don't you run from me, boy! I ain't gonna hurt you!" This was a lie. The man very much intended to hurt Carter. Thankfully, Carter knew it. So he pumped his legs and clutched his satchel and strained through the murk to see which lines of cars was chugging down the tracks and out of the yard. The wheel of a horn blasted Carter's eardrums, and he stumbled across a rail. Several rows away, there came a familiar metal clinking. A rusty but colorful chain of cars clacked by, catching speed and whisking away the mist. Carter could see clearly now. He jumped over the tracks and raced to keep up with the moving train. From down the yard, the cars kept coming and coming and coming. Red, blue, green, yellow, purple, redder, black, orange, redder still. The colorful train reminded Carter of the first magic trick he had ever seen. A gentle hand coming close to his face and pulling a red silk handkerchief from his ear, which was tied to a yellow one, which was tied to a blue one, which was tied to a green one, and so on and so on. It was one of the few memories Carter had of his own father. Instinctively, Carter touched his satchel as if to make sure the small wooden box was still inside. It was. Carter ran alongside the train, eyeing each passing car for a place to board. Behind him, footsteps sounded in the gravel, then a gruff, cruel voice rang out, "Carter, don't you dare hop on that train!" The clanging and banging did not drown out this man, who sounded closer now than before, almost directly behind him. "I've got eyes and ears in every town between here and Timbuktu. You'll never escape, hear me? Never!" And we have a good picture of Carter running alongside the train. Carter tried not to think about what would happen if the man caught him. Instead, he focused on the locomotive. Light glinted off the heavy wheels below as they rolled upon the tracks. The problem with trains is that they are made of metal, and each car weighs a literal ton, if not more. Once they're moving, they move quickly. If Carter got too close, if he tripped, it would be all over. A bright yellow train car was now edging past him. Yellow reminded Carter of a bird he once saw locked up in a cage in the window of a pet store. Weren't birds designed to fly free? Carter took it as a sign that this was the one to reach for, the one that would take him far away from here. Its ladder was just out of reach. Jumping a train in motion may have been hard or even scary for some, but Carter had done it so many times it came as naturally as plucking a coin from behind someone's ear or shuffling a deck of cards with only one hand. Unfortunately, the man who was chasing Carter found it easy too. As Carter was about to clasp the ladder, the man grabbed Carter's satchel and dragged him to the ground. "No!" Carter yelled. They both tumbled across the gravel, rolling beside the wheels of the yellow car that went bump, 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 bump over the rickety tracks, echoing the flutter of Carter's panicked heartbeat. He didn't want to imagine what would happen if the train left without him. So Carter didn't stop moving. He twisted his body until the rolling turned into a somersault. As he pitched himself forward, head over heels, Carter yanked his bag away from the man's grip, planted his feet on the shifting gravel, then leapt toward the train's last car. A ladder hung down from the rear next to an open door. Carter's fast hands grabbed the bottom rung, his taut tendons holding him tight. Climbing up and onto the ladder, he pulled his feet up and clung to the back of the now racing train. After catching his breath, he moved all the way to the top, taking a seat on the car's roof. The wind whipped his hair around. The train's horn cried out from up ahead. Looking back, he saw the man kneeling by the tracks, arms raised in anger, screaming into the night, and quickly shrinking into a dot that eventually disappeared in the murky distance. Carter waved goodbye to the town, to Miss Salweski, and to the man who was chasing him, though if it had been possible to wish the man a bad bye, Carter would certainly have done that instead. The sky turned a beautiful blue as the sun came up. After some time, the familiar rocking and loud metal churning of the car calmed Carter's heart and brought a yawn to his jaw. So he climbed down into the train car. Inside, hundreds of boxes were stacked on wooden pallets. Plopping himself on the floor beside one such sack, Carter placed his satchel underneath his head like a pillow, then drifted off to sleep, dreaming about hope and fate and destiny and adventure, as well as a fleeting thought or two about the possibility of magic. Okay, chapter 2. Surprise! It's time for a little flashback. I understand how frustrating it is to pause a story right in the middle of the action, but there are a few things you should know about Carter before I tell you what happens next. Things like, who is this kid? And why was he running? And who was the man that he was running from? I promise we'll get back to Carter's escape soon enough, and if we don't, I'll let you lock me up in a tight straitjacket with no key. Oh, the horror! But anyway, onward. Carter learned how to do magic tricks from his uncle, and they were just that, tricks. There was no magic involved. How could there be? Everyone knows there is no such thing as magic, or so Carter believed. At a very early age, Carter stopped trusting in wonderful, happy, fantastic things. It wasn't his fault. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. You see, Carter was born to two lovely people. His mom had a smile that shone like the sun on a perfect day at the beach, and his dad could pull coins out of ears and make a deck of playing cards vanish into thin air. They all lived in a tiny red cottage with white trim on a wooded and winding road outside a small northern city. One afternoon, when Carter was only a few years old, both of his parents failed to come home. They also failed to come home the next day, or the day after that. When the babysitter called the police, Carter hoped it was only one of his father's tricks. But after another day passed with no word, Carter had to face the cold, hard truth. His parents were not coming back. It was their final vanishing act. Young Carter was taken in by a distant relative named Sylvester Sly Beaton. For the sake of convenience, we'll call him Carter's uncle. Uncle Sly was a wiry little man who was always dressed in a brown tweed suit with frayed seams and patches that covered moth-eaten holes. He wore his long, greasy hair tied back into a messy ponytail, and the whiskers of his patchy beard barely covered his pointy chin. Uncle Sly told people he got his nickname because he was like a fox. But Carter always thought that his uncle looked more like a weasel, which made sense because Uncle Sly often acted like a weasel too. The man was not thrilled to have to look after Carter, and Carter was not thrilled to live with this weasel. But that's what the circumstances were, and so Carter made the best of them. Like Carter's father, Uncle Sly knew magic tricks. He could hold a tissue up to Carter's nose and make him sneeze a waterfall of coins into a glass. Then, one by one, Uncle Sly would make the coins disappear again. This blew Carter's mind. Well, his mind and his nose. Carter begged his uncle to show him how to do magic. Eventually, Uncle Sly saw that there might be a benefit in having an assistant, so he taught Carter everything he knew. It turned out Carter was a natural. Soon enough, Carter was doing all of Uncle Sly's tricks, only better. Carter had a special talent. His fingers were long and his tendons were taut, which gave him fast hands and expert card shuffling skills. He could make his coins vanish and reappear across the room. He could materialize playing cards out of thin air. He even revised Uncle Sly's sneeze trick using ice cubes instead of coins, which was rather impressive given the size of the average human nostril. Now, Uncle Sly wasn't the type of man to celebrate his young nephew's ability to change up his oldest and best illusion, but he was smart enough to notice an opportunity when it was sneezing ice cubes right in front of him. So on Carter's birthday, instead of throwing him a party, Uncle Sly decided to test him. He sent the boy up to a random couple on the street to perform his very first show. As Carter approached, he nervously slicked his blonde mop of hair to the side, pinched his pale cheeks, and opened his blue eyes wide. The couple seemed happy to stop for him. First, Carter presented a deck of cards and asked the woman to choose one. And here's the picture that goes with that. And keep it hidden between her two hands, making sure not to show him. Now, hold on to it tight, he said, while I guess which card you picked. Is it the Queen of Diamonds? It is, the woman gasped. But when she opened her hands to look, she yelped, the card is gone. Is it? Carter asked, holding it up in his own hand. How did you do that? The man asked. With magic, of course, Carter said, though the words were just words. Carter didn't believe in real magic, but he knew a thing or two about making people pay attention to one thing while he distracted them from something else. Growing bolder, he added, now, would you mind giving me back the card you've taken, sir? I didn't take a card, the man said. Then what is that in your pocket? The man reached into his breast pocket and, sure enough, the King of Diamonds was inside. The couple laughed with a flick of his wrist. Carter produced a colorful bouquet of paper flowers. He presented it to the woman, then took a bow just like Uncle Sly had taught him. The couple clapped and clapped and clapped. The lady kissed Carter on the cheek. The man gave him a nickel. Carter's proud uncle shook both their hands before hustling Carter away. Carter beamed like the sun. He had brought joy to the young couple. In earning their smiles, he recalled his own two parents and their laughter. He didn't care that there was no party. It was still a very good birthday. At least until later, when Carter realized his uncle had stolen the man's wristwatch and the woman's wedding ring. Uncle Sly had used him. Carter knew too many stories in which villains stole from innocent people. These stories always made him feel as if someone had stolen his parents from him. What was left of that earlier good feeling squeezed out of him like a balloon with a leak in it. All right, and we're going to stop there for today. I will tell you that this chapter is actually quite long and still continues for, let's say, about 16 more pages. So we're going to stop there, and I'm leaving off, and there's actually like 3 little stars there to kind of designate that we're going to a new scene in our book. And I'm stopping on page 13 if you happen to pick this book up, just so that you can know where we left off. So we're going to pause there, and I don't know about you guys, but we haven't even gotten to the Magic Misfits part of this where he's meeting these other kids. And if he's kind of saying, well, maybe magic is real, I want to know how that happens. How does he get from this really sad situation that he's in to possibly performing some real magic? And like I said, this book is very interesting in that it has different things in it. And let me see if I can find a part real quick. It will even show you different things like how to roll coins in your knuckles. So if you've ever seen someone kind of do that thing with the coins where it goes across their knuckles. That's what that is. So it has different things in this book throughout that will, you know, have you do puzzles or teach you different things. And so anything like that where it can add to a story and make it a little bit more magical, I'm definitely all for it. Here's another one, how to make a color prediction. So that's interesting. I would love to know how to do some magic tricks. So if you're interested in this book, don't forget we've got lots of different ways to enjoy it. And so you could either go to our website to put a hold on it or to check out which location it's at, or just give us a call and we'd be happy to help you out to get that book as well. Okay, so now it's time to see what we'll be reading next time. So let's get our wheel out and I'll see you in just a moment. All right, so it's now time to spin our wheel to find out what we're going to be reading next time. And don't forget, if we happen to spin something we read in the past couple of weeks, I will probably do it again just so we could get some variety. So we just have had humor. So there's also fantasy, spooky, mystery, realistic fiction, adventure, science fiction, historical fiction. So lots of different possibilities. So here we go. And spooky. All right, so I do know that some people are maybe not as interested in spooky stories as others and might be a little bit more something that's going to make you a little uncomfortable than what you would prefer. So this is a good time to just a heads up that next Friday we will be reading a spooky book. So if that's something that you want to preview as a grown-up before sharing it with your child, or just something that you would rather skip altogether, that's okay. Just remember to come back to us the next Friday. So I love spooky stories. They're some of my favorites. So I'm excited to find another spooky title for us to enjoy. So thank you so much for joining me today for our chapter book story time. Again, go to evpl.org, our website, to find all of our different resources and enjoy everything that we have there for you. If you go to our social media, you can like and subscribe and follow us there where we post so many different things that it's amazing, and you'll find lots of different ways to enjoy our library. So thank you again, and I hope to see you next Friday. Bye.